Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the OG Dad Off the Record podcast. And I'm your host, the OG Dad himself. And now we are in episode 2. And it's just me. It's solo. So sit back and relax and enjoy. Now, listen. This one, like I said, is a solo run. It's just me. Because this week, man, I had one of those dad moments to where I just felt like I was really messing it all up. So like I'm running late, I'm tired. I forgot something important. And I just feel like, dang, I'm really like not winning this whole dad thing. And then, my daughter, she'll just look at me or she'll want to play or she'll, just a small little tiny little 3-foot something smile from this little one, and you just kind of forget everything. Like everything you forgot about, everything you were late for, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I'm like like over the moon when she smiles. And this episode, I really wanted to put some thought into it. And, if you've been following me on social media, if you're not, you need to go ahead and do so. I'm on all the platforms. Some variation of the OG Dad, if it's not the OG Dad. But I'll make sure to drop those links in whatever platform you're listening or watching, just so you can. But back to what I was saying, this episode title really hit me. Because, I really wanted to kind of dive into what I say when it's not about being perfect, just present. We always look towards this thing, us parents, and I can, I really like being a parent. I really like talking about being a parent because, it's such an experience that you don't get to have unless you become a parent or some variation of a parent, uncle, aunt, whatever, caretaker. And I just used to think that, fatherhood, was about having it figured out. And I realized that, when my little one was born, I wanted to do everything by the book. My wife and I, we both wanted to do everything by the book. And, every article, every piece of advice, everybody would tell us everything. And, you want to take all of that advice and, because you want to be the best parent in the world. And you know what, reality sets in, when the book doesn't tell you that sometimes you're going to have to wake up at 3 a.m. for a blowout or she's not sleeping. The book doesn't, prepare you for the guilt of bedtime because, work ran late. Just the other day, I remember, just the other day, I got home pretty late, later than I usually do. And, dinner wasn't made. Usually I'm home early enough to kind of get dinner going. And, my wife, she was getting home. I think she had got home like 10 minutes before me, but it was one of those days where we were both late and there was no plan in place, excuse me. And, the little one, she's always the priority when it comes to figuring out dinner. And, long story short, we always end up, figuring it out. She's always good. And, I and on another note, I don't know where all that food is going, but she is good. Just there's no game plan. There's no possible way you will have this figured out. Even now, I'm a year and, 5 months in, and, I feel like just when you get a good routine going, the playbook changes, totally changes. Like you start reading another book by the time you think you got it figured out. And, we see those, those parents, those dads on social media, and it's just like flawless, like their kids are matching. Now, granted, I will go out and buy, some matching attire. That's kind of my jam. But it's just like and looking at social media, which is why I don't. It's funny, I'm posting all this stuff on social media, but like truth be told, in my personal life, social media is something I'm just like about, just because I don't want to get caught up in the doom scrolling, so to speak. And like, I don't follow anyone specific. Um and like, once you start looking into like the parenting stuff, it really becomes, all about the children and the routines and the smiles, and we're the perfect family and all of this. And it's just like, when is this ever a thing? When do we get to do this, right? It's just like, you gotta book that time, because you're constantly tired. You're constantly, just thinking about what could go wrong. um and I'm pretty sure it won't stop. And I remember my dad telling me, um early on, like, maybe she was like a month or two old, and I just remember having a conversation with my dad, and he told me, that feeling you have of just, restless nights, and you won't be able to sleep and all that stuff. He said, it'll never go away. He's not wrong. So, and I've been thinking about like my sister, and like, she is killing it with three girls. One who just started high school, which is, I'm super proud of her. Um, and like, I'm the oldest now, and she has three, and I'm just like, wow. Like, and I am so inspired by, what she has accomplished in her lifetime. And I'm just like, how are you doing it? How are you doing it? Like, what's the secret sauce? Like, what am I not picking up on this? um and I just feel like, I'm constantly like, just not doing a good job. And speaking of which, just, to go, it's not really off topic, but so I work for a nonprofit organization. And so well, let me backtrack even more. So I've recently moved. I live in another state now. Um, and I still commute back and forth to work, which is like an hour and some change, hour and a half. There was one day I was leaving work, and it took me like 3 hours to get home, just because, I live in that DMV area. It's just the hustle and bustle of living in the DMV. But man, I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do. But when we made that decision to move, you know, ultimately, I'm thinking about, well, my job is so far away now, and I can't do it and stuff like that. And, and I'm thinking about, well, like, well, what if, the little one needs me to come and, be there and stuff like that. So, we made it work. We certainly made it work. Um, but, I will always, put my family in the front, when it comes to choosing work over personal life. Um, and that's just kind of where I stand on that. Just because, like, your family's not that, a job will come and go. Your family will never leave you. So, you know, I'm gonna always continue to put them first. In that regard, especially when it comes to like planning things around work, because it's work. So, but just kind of thinking about just that whole being present, bit, where it's just not about being the perfect dad or the perfect stepdad or, the perfect whatever. It's about being present in that moment. That moment is what matters. And, when I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about, you know, all the things that I could be doing better, when it comes to being a parent, you know, again, that tiny little smile she gives me is all that I need to keep going. And it's just like, you know what, I'm tripping. I'm, I need to get over it and, figure it out. Cause, we've come so far in the last few months. The move, was quick and it was a huge adjustment. And, we're here months later and it worked out. So, we're all doing pretty good. And, I get more time with my family, especially my daughter. On the weekends, I certainly remember, before her, oops, sorry about that, y'all. Before her, the job that I worked before, sometimes I work on the weekends and, working on the weekends isn't fun. Especially when you got plans and, before my daughter was born, the job that I worked beforehand, sometimes I worked on weekends, which was, you plan around that. But man, there's nothing, my wife was, certainly understanding because, she worked 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. And, mine was like Saturdays on occasion, which isn't too bad, but like, like you just want the whole weekend off. But I'm in a 9 to 5 with weekends off and I get to spend that time with my family. But episode one, I was actually in Orlando, recording with my guest, Mr. Uh, Jesse, Dalrymple there. But, you know, for the most part, I am content and happy and elated that I get to spend this time with my family and we get to go to the park and when we get to go to little gym classes and we get to, experience the zoo together. Like, I never thought that would be my life. And, presence is currency. You know what I'm saying? Like being there, being present, spending the time, playing with the toys, talking about, school stuff. So what? You don't know what she's saying when she responds to you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because she lights up because she wants to engage with you. And that's what it's all about. It's all about that engagement. It's all about, just knowing when to put the phone down or knowing when to turn the TV off. We do as much as we can and we work some pretty long days. My wife especially does. But when it's time to be with the family, we both step up and we be with the family. So how do we stay present? Physical presence, certainly being there, showing up to, whatever event, print the pictures. Actually, I need to print some pictures out for her now that I think about it. The recital, the birthdays, all the events, most of the events. You can't make them all. That's fine. That's totally fair. That's totally reasonable. But if the excuse is, I don't want to, it's not an excuse. It's not. It's not. I remember, the few things that I actually had going on when I was a kid. And, my parents, I think my dad showed up to a lot of them. Maybe my mom did. I don't really remember my mom showing up to a lot of them. I think maybe she did. But I know my dad did as much as he possibly could. Again, it didn't matter. Whatever you got going on, doesn't matter. Like, just thinking about all the things I put down just to show up on time to my whatever my daughter's thing is, it doesn't matter, right? That stuff can wait till later. And reflecting, on my childhood, thinking about it, I was like, man, yeah, I guess they really did, they would show up when they could. And I'm just like, how did, and I'm one of three. So, how did they do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, it's a great mystery, but it's not a mystery at all because parents for millennia have been doing it forever. And, it's just, I just feel so novice in this space, and hopefully I get better at it someday. So physical presence. Next, mental presence. You know, talking about our feelings. Like it's, you know, I'm coming to you fellas. Talk about your feelings. Your son, your daughter. Put the laptop away. Look your kid in the eye, and just, I love you. You're a king. You're a queen. They need that reassurance. My daughter, she is everything. And when she's, you know, trying to do something, trying to pick something up, trying to move something, whatever it is, I love giving her the space to figure it out on her own before I step in. Because the first thing you want to do instinctually is step in and pick it up or move it or whatever. But I love giving her the space to figure it out, you know, until she says help, or she says help, like that. Um, so mental presence, be there emotionally for your kids. They need that regulation because these kids now tripping. And emotional presence, you know, hear them out. Hear them out. My little one is mumbling, but I still hear her out, right? Because obviously she's reacting to something. And it's interesting because at daycare they're actually teaching them sign language. I wish they had been telling us that, because she had been saying, you know, she had been saying please in sign in ASL, and we didn't know. We had no idea she was saying please. And I could tell it was frustrating her. You know, once we realized what she was doing, what she was saying, we realized, you know, she was actually communicating to us. And, you know, I felt a little bad about that, just because, you know, I could see the frustration on her face. And, you know, she had been communicating to us, and had, you know, we set aside what we had going on, actually paid attention to her and tapped in, then we would have figured out that she was actually communicating to us. So there's that. So I guess this last bit is legacy over perfection. Like, what will my daughter think of me when she's grown and I'm no longer here? What stories will she tell? Was he perfect? No, he wasn't perfect. Oh, he was perfect. I hope she says, my dad was the best dad I could possibly have. He made minimal mistakes, but he showed up and he showed out. He loved me. He valued me. And I think that's what I want to leave behind when I am no longer on this planet. And I still get to, you know, make an impact in some way when it comes to that little human being, that we raised her right. And, you know, we did the best we could as parents. Cause I think that's what it comes down to, you know, in this game of parenthood, or this club of parenthood. You know, I think we all have a common goal of wanting to be the best parent we can possibly be. And I would say that is what I want to leave behind when it's all said and done, you know, and whatever fortune she inherits. She doesn't grow up to be a menace, disrespectful, rude. She grows up to be a well-adjusted, well-off, kind-hearted, loving, caring human being. And that's where I'm going to leave it. All right, y'all. So I'm wrapping this one up. If you got anything from me today, let it be this. Your kids don't need a superhero. They don't need some flawless version of you. They need you right now, as you are. Not perfect, just present. So my challenge to you this week, pick one moment to be fully present in. Put the phone down, ask questions, sit in their world for 10 minutes. Let me know how it goes. That's it for episode 2 for the OG Dad, Off the Record. Thanks for rocking with me. Remember, not perfect, just present. OG Dad, signing off.